Now then, I'm Shaun Gold, today's guest on Tool Thinker. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur, 2x Amazon bestselling author, startup coach, motivational speaker, a venture capitalist. I needed money like everyone else. If you love long nights, no pay, no rewards, and constant anxiety and stress, then be a startup founder. Just do it. Take the leap, okay? You'll be better off for it. I mean, I've never had a real job. That quote is wrong. It's been wrong. I hate that quote. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. Who knows you? You will make more on your own than you ever could working for somebody else if you can make it. Do it or don't do it, you will regret both.
Welcome to Tool Thinker, where we accelerate your startup journey. Today I'm here with Shaun Gold, who has a long list of things that he has done throughout his career. So, Shaun, you want to tell us all the stuff that you've done?
Wow, okay. I'm Shaun Gold, not your host, your guest, but I'm taking it over the show today. I've done a lot. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur, 2x Amazon bestselling author, startup coach, motivational speaker, a venture capitalist, and much, much more. And today we're just going to have a fun episode.
Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your background and everything.
Yep, sure. So, like I said, I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. Done a lot of different things. I'm primarily known for my nearly 2-decade stint throwing parties in Miami Beach, South Beach, once the capital of nightlife globally. Since then, I've lectured at over a dozen schools now on entrepreneurship, startups, motivation, consumer behavior, venture capital, a lot of different things. Written 4 books, 2 of them became bestsellers. Wrote some screenplays, work with a lot of different startup companies, primarily with OpenVC, which connects founders to funders. Partner in a VC fund. And yeah, I do a lot of content, a lot of ghostwriting for founders and executives across industries, mostly on LinkedIn, but it's repurposed for X and blogs and whatnot. So every day is a new adventure.
Yeah. And what started your journey down this entrepreneurship road? Like what made you want to do this?
I needed money like everyone else. I mean, that's it. There wasn't a grand vision. There wasn't an idea. There wasn't anything. It was just I was a kid that needed money. And now I'm an adult that needs money. So not much has changed.
Right.
My parents, were very supportive of me, but they were also in the camp of if you want something, go buy it. What do you want from us? And I had to earn. It's that simple. And when you want something bad enough, you'll figure out a way to get it, whether it's as a kid, a comic book or a video game, or as an adult, I guess a comic book and a video game. But yeah, I've always been on that path. I mean, I've never had a real job. Don't even know how to get one. Don't even want one now that I think about it. I've just always kind of been hustling, forging my own path, walking my own path. And going in a direction that onlookers may refer to as random. But if you're a true entrepreneur, if you have a business, the entire path is going to be random because it doesn't exist. There's an old quote that says, if you can see the path laid out before you, you're on somebody else's. It's that simple. So the path of the entrepreneur, it's zigzagging, going in all these different directions, and it really doesn't make sense until it does.
Yeah. But here's the thing. If yes, you wanted money, but most people would just go and get a job. Why didn't you?
Well, when I was like 8. Okay, so that was the start. But once you have that first taste of entrepreneurship, and once you have that first taste of being a successful entrepreneur, you don't want to go and work with someone else. You already are used to having the freedom to do what you want to do. You already have a certain way of doing things. You already have your own innate ability to make things happen. And in some cases, depending on your skill set and your level of success and expertise, you will make more on your own than you ever could working for somebody else or working for a company. And you'll be a lot more, I'd say, mentally stable and mentally superior to people that are just in the grind 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, set schedule, multiple meetings, late night working on the weekends, all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, as an entrepreneur, you do that too, but you set your schedule. You're doing it for yourself. It's a different kind of feeling because no matter what happens, you're responsible for your fate. So you're not going to downsize yourself. You're not going to give yourself a performance review and see where you stand in 6 months or whatever. Although, I mean, you can. I mean, I give myself a performance review and I'm very harsh, but then I gave myself a raise and it improves morale. So, see, it works.
Right. What was the first entrepreneurial gig that you did?
Very first when I was like 8. So I was either selling candy or my mom worked at the mall and she had all these little samples of cologne and perfume that you give out to people. We had boxes of them. So I started selling it to all like my friends that were older that were getting into, discovering girls for the first time and wanted to smell good. So I was selling those for years. I was already had a reputation, but I was like 12 as the cologne kid. I was selling all that stuff, product and everything. It made enough money for me to get what I wanted, which, get video games, comic books, food, whatever. But that was, the very first one, and then it evolved. And I was 12, 13. I had an e-commerce business, and that lasted me for almost 5 years, and that was pretty solid as well. And then when I was about 16, 17, I had a educational assistance business. As I call it, I'm the old school chat GPT. So I did that for years as well, until I got into nightlife. And then I had a party business, the fun business. And it just keeps evolving from there.
Right, right. So tell us more about the party business. It sounds like that's where it got really serious.
Yeah, I mean, it was always serious, but the party business is the one that actually was the world changing business, right? That's the one that allowed me to be an adult
Mm-hmm.
by dealing with people that act like a bunch of children, which is ironic. Um, but yeah, I essentially would just throw parties and promote parties, and it went from just throwing parties on spring break in Nassau, Bahamas, throwing parties at no-name nightclubs and bars and lounges, and working my way up to being one of the most key figures at the top-grossing nightclubs, if not in the country, then in the world, for years, years. That's what I did throughout college. I chose to go to the University of Miami instead of a far superior school just because I wanted to throw parties and do that business. I stayed in Miami because that's what I was doing. I never had another form of income during that time. It was all throwing parties. It was all working with giant brands, doing special events, brand launches, brand activations, some nationally televised events, celebrity driven events, private parties, yacht parties, penthouses. Pretty much anytime you think of Miami, you see
Mm-hmm.
it in the movies or on social media. That was like my life. That's what I did, and that's what I'm still known for. I mean, I've been out of the game for years, but I still get texts from just strangers asking if there's a guest list or for table service or where to go, which I think is pretty funny.
Right.
But it stands as a testament to just how fanatical and how entrenched I was about that scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you have a brand at that time?
My brand was my name,
Your brand
still
was your
is,
name.
just Shaun Gold. Um, I mean, people kind of coined the term that I was like, for instance, I was the South Beach kid, right? I didn't
Uh-huh.
run with it, but they just, whenever I met someone new, they would, be like, oh, you're that South Beach kid, right? When I was in my late teens, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But then as I just became an adult and kept doing it more and more, I didn't create a company. I mean, I worked with companies, but everyone just knew me by the name because I let the work speak for itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone knew that if my name was on a flyer or if I promised 100 people or 500 people or 1,000 people, I would get you that. I did not mess around. And that goes with every business. I mean, it's really simple, but 99% of founders and entrepreneurs get it wrong. And
Yeah.
that's do what you say you're going to do. It's
Right.
that simple. Most
Right.
people don't do it. Most people don't get back to emails in a timely manner. They don't answer the phone. They don't pick up on WhatsApp. I mean, they don't do it. Right?
The
I come
discipline.
from an environment that's very competitive. So
Yeah.
you want to answer the phone because you could lose that client. You
Right.
want to respond to the text. You want to be on top of it. You want to be a person of your word. You want to be known for delivering what you say you're going to deliver. I mean, I never spent a dollar on advertising, ever. No
Mm-hmm.
Google ads, none of that. It was all referrals. It was all word of mouth. It was just, I built it up to a point where you wake up and you have a bunch of text messages from around the world of people coming in because they got your number from someone and they want to come in and they want to go party and they want to buy tables. They want to get on a guest list. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, it became an inbound machine.
Yeah. So you never saw the need to kind of embody all of what you were doing under a brand. You never saw the need to do
Not
that.
like a made up brand or like create something. I mean, I tried a few times, but at the same time, people just knew me as me. So I was the brand.
Did you hire anyone? Did you have employees?
Not in the traditional sense. So I did when I did my own parties, I would have teams of like 30 or 40 college kids that worked for me, but it was just paying them out for the event. We're not talking, employees with benefits or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would build teams for different nightclubs and whatnot. I would be responsible for them.
Right.
It was kind of annoying because you're kind of dealing with a bunch of crackheads, but I'd be responsible for them. And again, they would be paid out through the general umbrella. I wouldn't have to deal with it just because that's a whole nother issue. But yeah, I would have teams. I mean, some of the largest events I did were because I hired like 30 to 40 18-year olds freshmen to work under me. I'd have someone that was a little older that would be like a lieutenant, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and the lieutenant would take care of them, and then he'd report to me, and then we would just do it.
Right. So you've graduated now. You're you're a startup
Many
coach
years ago.
and a startup coach and a strategist. For new entrepreneurs just starting out with their first startup, how do they know that they have the right idea?
I mean, you could never really know if you have the right idea until the market tells you. I mean, your customers or the people that you want as customers are going to be very honest with you, and their honesty is usually in them through silence. They're not going to get back to you. They're going to churn out if they're paying for something. They're not going to come back. They're not even going to sign up. So the market tells you, right? Um, if you really believe in something, you have to find a way to get the market to support it through their
Yeah.
dollars, right?
Yes. Yes.
And it takes a while. It's not overnight success. You have to keep iterating and you have to keep taking feedback and you have to keep making sure that what you're building is something that people are going to want. The hardest thing to do is to get a complete stranger in a country that you probably don't even know where it is on a map to put their credit card in and pay for something that you're offering, whether it's a product or service, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully keep paying.
So I want to be an entrepreneur. I have an idea. What's the first step that I take?
So I would say do research, right? Research who your competitors are, research where they fall short, research how your idea is going to be better, research your niche, research how you can dominate your niche, how
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be able to take that market share from your competitors. A lot of mistakes that founders make is that they believe no one else is doing it. And there's always someone else doing it.
Yeah.
You're just not looking hard enough. You're just not looking into a Slack channel. You're not really thinking about what someone is doing in another part of the world. You're not even thinking about who's already done something similar and already has traction and already has funding. You really need to look into it and determine if you can do something better than they can, or if there's something that they're not doing, and you could address that. And you could really focus on that and make it sticky, make it something that they can't live without.
And that's the thing. Like, again, I'm new. It's my first gig. How do I know to stick with this one? How do I know this is the one I should stick with and take to the next level?
So it's very hard to make that decision because you might be very stubborn and would just grind it out. Some people are going to stick with it for 3, 4 years until it works, right? But it might not work. Some people are going to pivot within 6 months or 6 weeks because there's no feedback. No one's digging it. It's not something people are using. They're not really, getting back into it and recommending it and wanting to buy it and thinking that it's awesome and thinking that, you have to check this out and telling their friends and sharing it on their social. So it really depends on each person and I guess their threshold for taking pain. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like if you really believe in it and you want to grind it out, and you're that kind of person that could just face rejection after rejection for years until it starts getting something, and it might not even get what you're looking for. It just might not take off. I mean, startups explode, but they also implode. This happens. So you have to determine, if is this something you want to spend the time, and is it worth the blood, sweat, and tears and the annoyances? For some people, it isn't. For others, it is. So it really depends, and you don't have to worry if the first gig is not the best one. Most time, the first idea you have, the first company you start, it's not going to be the winner. It's not going to be the one that it's going to make change your life and make you a millionaire, billionaire, whatever the case may be. It might be too early. It might be too late. It might be something that fades away quietly, or it might burn out spectacularly. It's just finding that right idea that's going to work. And with AI tools right now, it makes it easier because the cost of failure has been reduced a great amount. Like you're going to learn so much through the experience of just trying to sell, trying to scale, trying to get a call, trying to get a return on your cold outreach. I mean, you will learn what works and what doesn't, and it's a unique experience that is unique to your entrepreneurial adventure.
Right, right. So, co-founder, solo founder, does it matter?
Yes, it does. So it depends if you're going to be raising funding, right? It's very hard to raise in general, but it's even harder to raise as a solo founder, just because one person can't do it all. It's very difficult. And you're going to want to have a team that has core competencies that, as a solo founder, you probably don't possess, which is why, most companies have three founders. Investors want to see 2 to 3 people. CEO, founder, co-founder that's a CTO, chief technical officer, and someone that's like a COO or a CMO, chief marketing officer. So that way you have the hustler, the hipster, and the hacker, right? You each know what you have to do. You each bring your own strengths, your networks, your knowledge to the team, and it's much easier than just being alone. I mean, it's very hard. I'm not saying it can't be done. Sam Altman is a solo founder. Jeff Bezos is a solo founder. So it can be done. It just much more difficult to do. And you could always start as a solo founder, and you could always, build something out and then meet the right person. But that's a whole nother conversation, because, we often talk about product market fit when really it's about founder co founder fit. And, to find the right person, you're really going to have to feel them out, and you're going to have to search for them. And it's not something that you could do in a weekend. It's not.
Yeah. Can you dig a little bit deeper into how I'm a solo founder? How, where, when, how do I find that co-founder?
So the matter of finding them, you could search, right? There's Slack groups. Gen Z VCs is a pretty good one. You can go to a virtual events. You can network on LinkedIn. There's groups like Co-Founders Lab, which I also speak at from time to time. There are all these little tools and groups and hacks that you can use to find the right people. But even when you find them, you have to vet them. And I don't mean vet them by saying, okay, great, you went to this school or you worked in this company. I mean vet them by giving them a task, a very simple task, and seeing how they perform. Do you respond to an email in a timely manner? Or does it take you a week to get back to me? If I send you a WhatsApp text, are you going to respond to me in a timely manner within hours? Or are you going to take me a few days to get back to me? If I call you, are you going to pick up? And if not, are you going to return the call? It's little things like this, because when you're working with a co-founder, you're going to be working together 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And if someone can't do something as basic as returning a call, answering an email, or delivering on a question or a small task you give them, then it's going to be very hard for them to work if you do scale this business. If there is an emergency, if there is a fire to be put out, if you do have to have a meeting with a large client, say an enterprise client, or a large investor or an angel group that's interested. Where's your co-founder? Oh, he's coming. And then they don't show up, right?
Yeah.
They don't even give a text. They don't respond. Oh, that was today? Oh, my yoga session ran long. Or, oh, I just couldn't make it on time. Or, oh, I had to take a personal day. Like, that stuff doesn't exist in Startup Land. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to find someone that is fanatical about what you are doing as you are, and that brings something to the table, whether it's the previous experience, whether it's their personal network, whether it's their skills in scaling companies from zero to X millions of dollars or building out X technology, all that kind of stuff.
I think that's the hard part. I think that's where a lot of solo founders might struggle. They're I mean, a lot of them start off just doing it by themselves, and they've always done things by themselves, and then suddenly I have to get a co-founder. How do I handle that? And that's why I really wanted to dig into that to make sure that, you know,
Yeah, it's a matter of you're finding someone that can do what you can't and that you get along with, and that's professional.
yeah.
Okay, it doesn't. It takes a long time. It's not like I met you on Friday. Let's start a company on Monday. Okay, it doesn't work that way. Before I joined my fund to launch it, I mean, I knew that team for almost 3 years. We were just collaborating on different projects and sharing contacts and talking to one another and sharing opportunities. And like everybody was pretty on point. Everybody was fast. Everybody was an adult. Everybody was businesslike. So it made sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't just like, again, I met him Friday and we joined on Monday. You know, I like to move fast, but you have to make sure that these are going to be the right people for a large part of your life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
7 to 12 years on average, if you can make it.
Yeah. So you're a VC now.
Correct.
You want to touch on that and in terms of what you're involved in as a VC, and also let's talk about bootstrapping versus VC. When do we take the next step? Should we take the next step?
So what we do is we're focused on secondaries. We have a joint venture with two other funds, and we're focused on doing secondary sales and Series B companies and above. Maybe some Series A, but mostly Series B to Series C. So for everyone watching this that is pre-idea, pre-MVP, pre-revenue, that just wants to connect and talk pitch decks and get investment, I'm not your guy. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
What's the name of your
that's it. We
company?
also do switch
What's the
sales,
name of your VC company?
improve ventures.
Improve Ventures.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, we we focus also on strip sales of portfolios for other VCs. So that's been our main focus for the past year. We've done some deals in some pretty notable companies, just secondary deals last year. We're currently in due diligence looking at other companies right now. We always have different, different opportunities coming in. But again, even for us, it's a long process. You know, it takes 3 to 6 weeks to analyze one deal, if that. So when people complain, why does it take so long? Well, the due diligence process takes a long time for anything. You can't really get it done quickly. And so that's what we're doing. And then also, I mean, I speak a lot at different universities, different accelerators and whatnot, on fundraising, on venture capital, because I mean, I've worked with so many different startups over the years that I mean, I have a pretty firm grasp. These are startups that are everything from pre-seed all the way up to, I'd say, a late seed, maybe early Series A. So a lot of them were funded and raised millions of dollars. So I have a very firm grasp of early stage to late stage. And then when it comes to bootstrapping versus venture, I mean, I tell everyone if you can bootstrap it, then bootstrap it. Take it as far as you can possibly take it
All right.
because raising capital is very hard. It's very time consuming. It's never as quick as you think it's going to be. It could be anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, depending on the market conditions, who you are, your traction, what you're doing, who's on your team, if you have investors, if you don't, your personal network. It's never fun. It's never quick. So if you can bootstrap, do it. I mean, once you get to a certain point of revenue and you literally cannot scale because you need outside money to hire new people or fulfill orders or expand, that's a good time to go after investor money. It's, essentially investors, what they want is they want to see a fire and they want to pour gasoline on the fire so it explodes. They don't want to just hear an idea that is just an idea. There's no fire, there's no campground, there's no Kindle, there's no tools, there's nothing. They're not going to provide you all that. You, as a startup and as a founder, have to provide all that. And even with that, there's no guarantee that people will invest. You know, I tell every early stage founder that it's not a matter of when you raise capital, it's a matter of if, because it's that difficult. Only a few deals a year A typical fund is what they will invest in, maybe two, three, four, five out of the thousands of decks they get. So you have to keep that in mind. And also, there's no shame in bootstrapping. There really
Mm-hmm.
isn't. I mean, I used the MailChimp example where it was two founders. They scaled the company up. They sold it for $12 billion. It was a
Right.
50-50 split. That's it. Not a 20-20 split because we brought on all these investors. I mean, when you bring on investors, you're essentially bringing on silent partners. You are giving up part of your company to have them on your cap table, to have them involved with you. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people, if they want to sell something for billions of dollars, they think they should be a billionaire, not, wait, only 20 million, but I spent 10 years building it. It's blood, sweat, and tears. And yeah, but you kept diluting yourself and bringing on more and more investors. And that's the game. So, you have to understand how the game is played. And if you're capable of bootstrapping and you can take it to the next level, and if you can do a small round and that's it, then fine. But I always tell everyone only even go after investor money if you absolutely need it, because it's going to be a long process. It's going to be time consuming. You're probably not going to like the process. If you're lucky, you'll get a bunch of meetings and then you won't ever hear back, because a lot of investors, they don't pass because what if they just don't reply? They just vanish. They just ghost. Because if it becomes a big thing, oh, hey, we're interested again,
Yeah.
instead of being going, oh no, they flat out say no. I like to say no to a lot of things. I don't care. I've yet to be proved wrong. Not a single startup that I said no to has ever gone on to IPO or prove me wrong or be acquired or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. No, very, very valuable information coming from someone that's very experienced. Um, so in terms of customer acquisition, what's your usual coaching strategy?
Whatever works. I mean, I'm not a big fan of spending money on ads, because when you spend money on ads, it doesn't support your business. It supports the businesses that run the ads. Meta, LinkedIn, all these big companies. You're giving them money. They're winning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're not going to win. You really have to do whatever works. Now, if that's writing LinkedIn content that generates inbound, then that's what works. If it's making TikTok videos that generates inbound, that's what works. If it's using Instagram, that's what works. I mean, there's all these different tools that are available now, and everything's an experiment. If you have a podcast and the podcast is generating inbound, then that's what works. If you're doing speaking and you're signing people up from your speaking gigs, then that's what works. You have to just try everything that is a low cost, no cost, to see what you can do to get people. Unless you have a lot of resources to spend 5, 10, $20,000 a month in ads, it's gonna either burn out your runway, or it's gonna just, unless you're converting a million customers or converting, getting those customers that aren't churning out, so that, okay, I can spend 20,000 a month because I'm doing 300,000 a month. Unless you're at that point, I mean, you're going to have to figure out a way to get people.
Mm-hmm.
And every startup is different. Every company is different. Every founder is different. Some might use Slack channels and DM people. Some might have good outreach on LinkedIn. Some just might have really good, helpful content and are able to touch on that pain point that their startup or their business solves. So it really depends on the individual, to be honest. But you
Mm-hmm.
can't do nothing. Doing nothing leads to nothing every single day.
Right, right. And what about retaining that customer?
So that's a tough one, because people always churn. And it's usually not because of your company. I mean, yeah, sure, if your tool sucks, or if your product is terrible, if your service is lacking, yeah, they're gonna churn. But people might churn because, hey, it's too expensive, or hey, I don't need it anymore, or hey, I'm found something else that serves my needs better. I mean, that happens. It happens all the time. It sucks, but that's the name of the game. You always have to be searching to find people to replace the customers that churn out. Always, and it's always a hustle, but it keeps it exciting for the entrepreneur, because some people are very scared to take on too much. Oh, I don't want to have all these clients. We won't be able to properly serve them. That's a good problem to have, so that if you are raising money, that's a strong signal. I cannot service the amount of people that we have that want us because our demand is so high, right? Instead of, we don't want to take on too many because that means I might have to work on the weekend. you know, or
Mm-hmm.
I might have to keep answering the phone, or I might have to hop on all these calls, or I might have to answer emails. And I've seen it. I've seen it across the board. I had when I was doing my parties, I had one of my top sellers literally turned his phone off the day before because he didn't want to deal with it. And I go, what do you mean he turned his phone off? And they're like, yeah, he doesn't want to deal with it. And I was giving his number out to people that wanted to buy what we were selling. Okay.
Yeah.
So then that one annoyed me too. I just, the next top guy I had, I just said, listen, I'm going to give you all his business. Can you handle it?
Yeah.
Sure. And then 2 days later, he turns his phone back on and was annoyed that, hey, I'm not the top seller anymore. And I thought I was going to get a bonus. And I said, yeah, but you turned your phone off. That's a cardinal sin, especially the last 24 hours of a party is when all the sales happen. It's a last minute FOMO effect. You can't turn your phone off. If you're gonna, and if you do want that, you should at least tell someone like me that, hey, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I made enough money. I'm done. But a lot of businesses don't do that. They're like, whatever. They don't treat their customers or their clients the way they should. My personal mantra is that I always treat my next client like my first client, meaning I go above and beyond. I don't want them to lose them. I want to give them as much value as possible. I want to hook them up. I want to see them succeed. I want to plug them in. I want to make them stronger leaving me if they do leave than when they arrived. And people don't have that mentality. They're just like, oh, you're a number, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
And that's the wrong way to go about it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That's an interesting point that you make because a lot of people they have these really good ideas. They wanna they have the passion to turn it into a business, but are they ready if it was to take off? Are they really ready for what's coming?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I think people imagine the success, but they don't imagine the work. And the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary. Like
Mm-hmm.
it sounds cool in your head to have all these customers, and it's fun to see all this money going into your account, but you're going to have to really be fulfilling the orders or being on calls or following up and updating your CRM and building out your pipe and making sure your product works and then speaking or being on podcasts. Like it's a 24/7 kind of gig,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying you should quit your day job immediately. You're going to have to learn how to balance it. You're going to have to learn how to put in the effort. You're going to have to learn to see how much you can take. I feel like a lot of people haven't been tested, especially if they're the first time founder. And they're going to learn real quick what it means to be a first time founder. That there's a difference between writing CEO and founder on LinkedIn and actually being a CEO and founder. There's a difference from saying and thinking you can handle all the clients and that there's no limit and that it's infinite, but then having to deal with 200 emails in a day, having to deal with 20 Zoom calls in a day, having to stay up late and wake up early. I mean, that's the life. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want that. They want the glory, not the struggle. They want the triumph, not the tears.
But so as a coach, and knowing this, how do you prepare someone for this?
One, I have to ask them if they're ready and if they're truly ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I have to give them examples and
Mm-hmm.
then see how they feel about it. A lot of people, again, they think they're ready, they say they're ready, but once the rubber hits the road, they're not, right? And I tell them straight up, I say, listen, don't do this yet, because if you're already exhausted from your 5 day a week, 40 hour, 50 hour a week gig, you're not going to be able to come home and do something else because you're not going to be into it. You're not passionate enough. You're not fanatical enough about it. People want to have a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
People want to. Nobody wants to work all the time and then do more work. It's like, hey, you did work. Now there's more work, and then the more work is unpaid. Okay, it's called building the foundation. When I work with a lot of students, a lot of colleges whenever I speak at, and I always tell them that if you love long nights, no pay, no rewards, and constant anxiety and stress from the unknown, then be a startup founder and become an entrepreneur. It's not for everybody, but that's what it is. And it takes a while. When I started doing my parties, I was 17 years old. Okay. And it took me almost 3 years to get to that level where all my bills were paid. I had a reputation. I had clients. I was growing. Every day was a new adventure. Every day was fun. The stress was there, but it was manageable. 3 years. A lot of people can't really, can't hack it, especially in this day and age where everything is instantaneous. If I want food, my Uber summons it. If I want to ride, my Uber can also take care of that. If I want a place to stay, I have Airbnb. If I want a video game, I can download it. If I want something, anything, I can just go to Amazon and boom, I have Prime. I'll see it tomorrow. Great. Can't summon profits, can't summon success, can't summon customers.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the only hard truths that remain. So you have to be fanatical about building out what it is that you want to build out. You have to take it. A lot of people can't take it. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people cannot take the pain of it.
Right.
But if you can do that, you can do anything. The
Mm-hmm.
pain doesn't leave; it just finds a stronger surface, right? The exterior has changed. The mentality has changed. The individual has changed, and it's really about becoming this person. And it's like, whatever. I mean that in the best sense of like, okay, this campaign didn't work, or this launch didn't work, and we lost $10,000. Whatever. I faced worse, right? But to a first-time person that's not used to that, where every penny counts. I mean, they don't know how to maneuver. They can't take action. They don't have the framework for them to move forward. They have this paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to be ready to become who you are and to create the company that you know you're capable of. You have to give up what you have, and you have to be willing to step into the unknown. And the unknown is very painful, and it's very uncomfortable, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned that it took you 3 years to get to a certain level in your career. Um, when you were doing your music gig. Would you say that's the average time that it takes for a
No,
startup to?
it's some startups blow up immediately because they have something so cool. Some work in the shadows. Some build loudly. Some immediately are a hit and take off, and others just implode. I mean, every startup is different. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience of what I had to go through to make my small business, to make my parties happen, to make myself happen. If you look at OpenAI, ChatGPT, for instance, ChatGPT had been around 2015, 2016, right?
Mm-hmm.
It took years for them to have a working model. And I mean, I remember that when they first launched, I think they got 5 million people in the first like few months.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. But then when they launched the Studio Ghibli, where you can turn yourself into a
Yeah.
cartoon,
Yeah.
they got like 5 million people in a day. It's
Good.
really, it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of things that people aren't working on. You got to remember that people were working on AI and large language models and all of that for years. Web3 was hot when they were testing it. NFTs were hot when they were testing it. Blockchain and the metaverse. Remember the metaverse?
Oh, the metaverse,
you
of
know,
course. Yeah.
yeah. So all of that was hot, and then all of that went away, and now AI is hot, and now we have a bazillion AI tools, and there's always new ones coming.
It's a narrative,
Um,
right? Whatever narrative is going on.
yeah, it's just there's things trend. I think AI is not a trend; it's the future, but it takes years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so every journey is different. It really depends. I can tell you that if you don't take it, nothing's going to happen. It's going to take longer. The longer you take to start, and I don't mean quitting your job and launching a company today. I mean doing your research, talking to people, seeing what annoys them, seeing what you can do, thinking about what's going to make you happy to do, and what's going to make you fanatical, and what's going to make you want to stay up late and wake up early and spend your weekends doing this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For you, you've had a long career as an entrepreneur. You said you started out when you were like 7, 8. Um, what you would you say is the biggest challenges that you've had as or you faced as an entrepreneur?
All of the above, everything. Um, Listen, if you're a first time entrepreneur and you're unproven, because we all are when we begin, you're going to take a lot of crap. And it's going to come from the people that are supposed to support you, your friends, your family, your teachers, your professors, everybody. They're going to say, don't rock the boat. This is just a fad. It's a phase. get a real job, all that stuff. A lot of people conform to that pressure. They literally have no choice but to conform because they cannot do it on their own. They need to have a supporter. They need to have someone telling them good job. They don't have that person, that voice inside them that tells them to keep going, right? And it's hard. And I mean, even when I was very successful doing my parties, people kept telling me that I should get a real job. And what I tell everyone is, when you hear that, people aren't saying you should get a real job. They're saying you should get my job because they're that upset with what they do. They want to make you suffer because they see you smiling and thriving, and say you should get a real job. So you have to be stubborn and not listen. You have to know who to listen to and who to ignore. And that's a skill in itself. That's navigation of who to trust, right? There's an old quote I like from Carl Jung that says, if you do your work diligently and honestly, then unknown friends will come out to seek you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I believe in that 100%, because everyone that was a naysayer to me, they didn't really push the needle forward. And as soon as I started moving forward on my own and meeting the right people through my efforts, through my fanaticism, through my actions and whatnot, you know, the wheel started to turn. And all the people that laughed at me or said it couldn't be done became, the strong supporters. They wanted to take credit. They wanted to hop on the bandwagon. They wanted to say they were there from the start. And that wasn't the case. You know who's there from the start. You
Mm-hmm.
remember who opens a door for you. You remember who makes an introduction. You remember who throws you a bone. You remember who gives your number to somebody. There's a quote that everyone uses, and it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that quote is wrong. It's been wrong. I hate that quote. That quote needs to be exterminated. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. Okay, who knows you? There's going to be a conversation, and there's going to be a need in that conversation. And if someone knows who you are and what you do, they're going to tell that stranger, "Hey, I know this person. Let me make an introduction. They can help you." And if you can scale that, then it's a system of referrals. How do you do that? By giving good service, by having an awesome product, by being a fun brand, by really making something that people want to use and want to pay for and can't live without. You essentially evangelize people that believe in you into being your best sources of new leads, new clients, new customers, new revenue. That's what I did. I continue to do that. Nightlife, it was easier because it was at a time when everybody wanted to go out, everybody was looking for something to do, everybody had money to spend. But still, it continues now. Startups that want to work, that need content done, startups that need strategy, startups need help with their pitch deck, whatever the case may be.
Right.
It's always through an email, it's always through a text, WhatsApp, LinkedIn DM. Meet Shaun, he could help you, and then that's it. So it's who knows you, and you want to have that reputation. And once you have that kind of reputation, the obstacles become stepping stones. Where other people see walls, you see stepping stones. You can climb up them, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, do you have any frameworks that you use or recommend during your coaching?
Just to take action. The number one thing you can do is to take action. The number one thing you can do is to use Nike. Just do it. That's it. There's a quote by a Danish philosopher, existentialist philosopher, Soren Kierkegaard. Quote's great. He says, "Do it or don't do it. You will regret both." It's that simple. And I'm always on the side of just do it. Take the leap. Okay, you'll be better off for it. You will learn from it. You will experience things that the average person is too afraid to experience. You will learn things that will help you. And if it doesn't help you with your business, it'll help you with your career, with your job, with something else that you wouldn't even think of. Everything is connected. There's threads of everything. So, my work in parties, for instance, applies directly to VC and startups. Okay, who to target, the psychology behind certain individuals, the psychology behind high net worth individuals, the psychology behind athletes and celebrities, the psychology of what's cool, the psychology of sales, of upselling. It applies to everything I do right now. I was already doing it. I was already selling a product or service at a 5 to 10,000% markup. I was literally selling something that people could experience for a few hours and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
and they can only experience it again if they pay the same price, if not more, right? You have to have the psychology of sales, because if you're going to be in business, even if you're not a salesperson, you're still neither going to sell your business or your idea to the person that will be your salesperson. You always need to learn how to sell, and people don't know how to do it, right? They don't. So you need to take action to learn. I mean, just today I had someone reach out to me and they say, "Give me your blunt, honest viewpoints on my sales plan for my startup, for my company." And I told them straight up, I said, "It sucks. Okay. It looks like Chat GPT generated slop garbage. No
Mm-hmm.
one's going to do this. Everyone's already doing it. It doesn't work. You need to come up with, something that is going to get attention. You need to be able to do what other people aren't doing, either because they don't want to do it, they're not willing to do it, they're too lazy to do it. You have to go that extra mile. Um, so yeah, but it all starts with a single action. The entire framework, the entire foundation is built on taking action, on clicking yes, checking the box, picking up the phone, doing what you have to do to be a success.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, at least to me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And Shaun, if you were to sum up all your experience in one advice for a startup founder or an aspiring startup founder, what would be that advice?
It's hard to put it all into one sentence. you know, um, take action. Don't be annoying. Don't be cringy. Don't think you're a know-it-all. Don't be arrogant. You need a little bit of arrogance to say, I'm going to do this and everyone else can watch me do it. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Great. But you need to have the success and the proof to back that up. So you can't start off with that mindset. You have to have a little bit and just for yourself. But I mean, it all comes back to just what we talked about, to taking action and going through with it, and learning. You have to keep learning. You have to really understand that there is a limited time to do something, and the best day to do it is today. Best day. I don't care about the market conditions. I don't care about the tariffs. I don't care about the venture funding environment. I don't care about the technology environment and what AI is doing to certain industries. You need to do something to just jump into it and get things going. Just start it. Research into it. Start networking.
Start.
Start building out a network. Start building out a reputation. Start building out a voice. Start building out a brand. It's not going to come overnight, but the sooner you begin, the easier it becomes. Beginning's the hardest part. Nobody wants to actually pull the trigger. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Once you pull the trigger, yeah, you're probably going to fail, but you will have accumulated the knowledge, the resources, the people, the social capital, the network effects to do something else. Everything leads up to something. It's up to you to keep it going forward. So
Mm-hmm.
take action.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good advice because a lot of people, they have a lot of ideas. They keep working on that idea forever and they never start. So
Yeah, they
and
never do.
and and you
They
can't
just
get anywhere
it,
without starting.
there's no participation trophy for having a Google document or a Notion sheet of ideas. There isn't. Okay. And you're gonna want to do something with your life, with your idea. And if you don't, it will eat at you. It'll
Mm-hmm.
gnaw at you. And you want to do this and get it out of the way and start, because you will transform and it will be better. You will be better in the future
Mm-hmm.
because you will learn. A lot of people are afraid to learn because they want to learn through the experience of others without having to suffer through what works and what doesn't. And that's fine. Learn through the experience of others. But once you pull that trigger, you're in it. You're an entrepreneur when you're being an entrepreneur, not when you're just watching Netflix, or at the gym. You have to be an entrepreneur when you're selling, when you're building, when you're networking, when you're scaling, when you're strategizing. And you
Yeah.
always have to be on, always.
Yeah. Shaun, you've been a really good sport, extremely good sport. I want to thank you for showing up and supporting this interview. I really, really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. You can click the link below for what are we promoting? I'm sure there's going to be links below. Oh, here, we'll
Yes.
do
Well,
you can
tell
connect
me
with me on
your.
LinkedIn. Say you heard from me on the Tool Thinker. That'd be awesome. I have my open VC link right below. You can sign up for free and start looking for funding today, as well as learn from the massive blog, most of which I wrote, so you can get startup ready, and plenty of other cool stuff. And there's my website. It's cool. It's there. It's parked so that the other Shaun Golds don't take it. But LinkedIn, I'm on 5 days a week. I'm always posting startup and venture capital related advice. I try to make it witty. I try to make it loose. I try to make it fun. I try to make it useful. So yeah, smash that like button.
Shaun Gold, everyone. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.